Hope you guys are staying healthy. In today's video lesson, we're going to go over chapter 19, lesson 3. We finished up 1 and 2 the other day. We talked about some entrepreneurs, Andrew Carnegie and John D. Rockefeller. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about some famous inventors and how their inventions shaped America. Stay healthy. So let's take a look at lesson 3. We've already been talking about people moving to the cities and how industries are growing and expanding, and this lesson is going to go a little bit more into depth about the growing industries and how the cities are changing. So as railroads were built across the nation, they were helpful to a lot of businesses. They helped farmers because they helped them ship their goods so they could sell their products to a wider range of area and didn't have to worry about them losing a bunch of their crops, a bunch of their, meat to spoiling. They would ship them in these giant trains, and a lot of the trains are refrigerated. So shipping and selling things to a wider area made a big difference because they didn't have to throw away a bunch of stuff that spoiled, and it helped the farmers make more money. So these railroads became especially important because they connected the major cities. They made it easier to get from one place to another. A guy named Cornelius Vanderbilt and James J. Hill ended up connecting a couple of railroads, making it so you didn't have to get off one railroad onto the next one, onto the next one. They made it so it was easier to make these long trips. They also started using double tracks, which meant at the railroads they had more than one set of tracks, so you could have the traffic going in 2 separate directions at one time. So, how did these new inventions end up changing American society? Americans have always been proud of their ability to invent things. That's one of the things we take pride in. And there's going to be some very important new inventions that come during this time. In the last lesson, we talked about how Andrew Carnegie was able to make steel more cheaply, and that made it so skyscrapers were built, that made it so new bridges could be built, and there's going to be some new technology that changes America quite a bit. One of the most important inventors is a guy named Thomas Edison. He was known as the Wizard of Menlo Park because his inventions seemed to be so advanced, people thought they must have been magic. In 1876, Edison started a research laboratory. So Edison was an inventor, but he also knew that if he could get as many smart people as possible to work with him, he would be able to get much more work done. So he brought together scientists, engineers, machinists, clockmakers. All these people were part of his team, and they were known as the Invention Factory. He organized them to invent things quickly and efficiently and try to solve problems. His Invention Factory could put out a small minor invention every 10 days and a major invention every 6 months. Now, a lot of people criticize Edison because he didn't actually invent many of the things he got credit for. It was his workers, but he was still instrumental in changing America. The indoor electric light bulb was one of Edison's finest inventions. Now, I don't believe he actually invented the light bulb, but he did make one of the first light bulbs that was actually worth using. It would have a long enough life and put off enough light to make it worth it. Before this time, they didn't have electricity in most cities, and they would use lanterns to light their houses. And the lanterns are risky because it's using fire. If a lantern breaks or the kerosene spills, you could lose your entire house. So they wanted to find a better way to light up the houses. So Edison is going to work on the light bulb. And he takes thousands of tries to find something that's going to work as the filament, the little squiggly line that you see inside of a light bulb. And he tries thousands and thousands of different things to see what's actually going to work. So when they heat it up, it lights up and it puts out all the light. Some things burn out too quickly, some things don't shine bright enough. but he eventually finds something that works and burns for hundreds of hours. Thomas Edison also invented something called the phonograph, and the phonograph was able to play recorded music. He also improved the telephone. So Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, and Thomas Edison improved it, and he made it so you didn't have to yell into the phone for the other person to be able to hear you. He also invented the first projector. So he combined a projector with his phonograph and was able to actually have movies that had sound with them. So it wasn't just Thomas Edison who was making a difference with his inventions. There was multiple other inventions. So Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, and then Thomas Edison improved it. George Eastman improved the camera. So he made it where a camera was able to take a picture quicker and you didn't have to sit still so long. Before this time, you had to sit still for 10-15 minutes while they're taking a photo, and if you moved, it would be blurry. A guy named Ottmar Mergenthaler invented a machine that would make printing more easy. It would print quicker. And Elisha Otis invented something that you guys are thankful for. Invented the first safe elevator. And can you imagine living in a building that's 20 stories tall without an elevator? You'd have to walk up and down the stairs all the time. So he invented the first safe elevator. There's lots of other important inventions. Henry Ford did not invent the car, but he does become important in a chapter or two. Cars during this time were mainly only for the rich people. And Henry Ford is going to do something in a coming chapter that is going to lower the cost of a car and make it so more people can afford them. And he does this by making them on the assembly line. So each one of these inventors did more than just make one new invention. They each created an industry. And an industry means businesses, means jobs. So with each of these new inventions, there were more jobs for Americans to have. And when they have a job, they have more money to spend and usually a better quality of life. So these brand new industries are good because they make jobs, but there is a negative impact. So let's say there's a brand new factory getting set up in downtown Youngstown. The good part about that is people would be able to go there and get a job and maybe make some good money. But the bad part about that is living next to these factories, there's an environmental cost. So you wouldn't want to live right next to a factory because the air is going to be polluted and it's going to be tough. There's going to be loud noise, people coming in and out, cars coming in and out all the time. Probably be more garbage in the neighborhood from people leaving their trash. So these industries are good because of the jobs, but the negative aspect is they cause a lot of damage to the environment. So people started to become concerned. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there was so much pollution from the steel mills, they actually had to run the street lights during the day because people couldn't see. There was so much smoke and smog in the air. So people started getting worried, thinking that the environment was getting ruined. Groups started to be set up to protect or conserve the environment. They started setting up national parks, which are areas that are only there to be appreciated. They're not there to be used. This group called the Sierra Club, they were one of the groups that promoted conservation. And conservation means to save something, to not use all of it. Theodore Roosevelt, also, who eventually is going to become president, he's going to expand many of these conservation efforts. Okay, guys, so now take a look at the worksheet that I put on the Google Forms in your Google Classroom. If you're having trouble accessing it, let me know. I'll help you get into it. Do the best you can. Let me know if you have any questions.